I'm going to walk you through how to create an assembly drawing using the guide assembly that we created on Tuesday, right? So I start by opening up my guide assembly. Okay, and I don't see it because right now I'm set to part. If I want to open up an assembly, I need to set this up for assembly. So I'm going to click on the assembly, and now my guide assembly shows up. See that? And then I'll click on open. Now, if you open your guide assembly and it's missing the hardware, that means that you did not save your hardware as part files in your projects folder. And you're going to need to go during the lab and fix it. All right? Just so you know. All right, so how many people opened up their guide assembly and didn't see any hardware? Everybody got their hardware, so you're all awesome people. That's great. Okay, so the first order of business is to create our assembly view. So you create your assembly view on your configuration manager. Your configuration manager is this third tab in the browser. Remember, this area right here is called the browser. And we want the third tab. It kind of looks like a tree, like a family tree or broccoli or directory. So we come over here to the configuration manager and we click on it. And notice it says guide assembly. And it says default guide assembly, right? And remember I said you could go to the ribbon and you can create an exploded view from the assembly ribbon. Do you see that? I could also right click on the default and say new exploded view. Do you see that? So that's the third place. I could also right click in here, all right, and I should be able to do a exploded view. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go new exploded view. Oh, the third place is I can go insert exploded view. See that? So that's the third place you can go to create your exploded view. So I create my exploded view, and what it wants me to do is it wants me to select components and then place them where I want them for my view. Now I can select them a couple different ways. I can select them from the drawing tree or the assembly tree, or I can select them in the drawing window. I usually will select them from the tree, and the reason why I select them from the tree is because then I really can see what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I want to start by exploding out this countersunk cap screw. So I'm going to select this countersunk cap screw, and notice as soon as I highlight it, it shows me the part right here. It shows me by default that it's going on the z-axis and it's giving me a distance. I can also select an axis. So if I put my mouse over that blue axis, I can just move it out. See that? And then as soon as I'm done, you know, I can say I can just left click. Okay? I don't want to click the green check because the green check would indicate that I'm completely done with defining my exploded view, and I'm not completely done with my exploded view. Okay, so I got that out. Now I'm going to come over here to this part, and once again I can just drag it out. And I'm trying to kind of equal space it so it's pretty easy to see what's going on. And then I'm just going to take the rod and I'm going to drag it out. And notice I keep going back to that isometric view because that's the isometric view that I'm going to use in my exploded drawing. So if I show it a certain way, I can see if I've clearly dragged things out where I want them to be. Now, if I think that I've dragged the rod out too far, I can come over to that rod, you know, and make a change afterwards. All right, but I'm going to select the two flange bolts. So in this case, I'm going to select them from the tree. And notice they highlighted in the tree, and they highlighted in here. And it doesn't matter that I can come over to the green axes and just drag them up. See that? So now the last thing is I want to bring out these guys. But here's the thing, these guys are in an angled plane. So I want them to come out also on an angled plane. So there's a trick to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down, I'm going to locate that small screw, and then notice I also have a derived pattern down here, and that derived pattern is all the other screws. So I'm going to come over here so you can see a little bit easier. So see that derived pattern shows me all the screws that I've patterned. So I can just hold down my control key and add all of those screws, and notice that now they're all in here. Okay, now I want you to look at the axis. The axis is at an angle, and I want it to be at an angle. So how do I change it? If I put my mouse over that little gizmo, that's what it's called. It's actually called a gizmo. And I right click. Notice I can say aligned with component origin. And what that does is it'll tilt it so that it's aligned with the origin of the fastener. So I'm going to click it to say align with component origin, and notice how it adjusted, and notice how it's now at an angle. Now I can select this red axis. Oops. And just drag it out. See that? Okay, see how nice that is? And I'm going to green check, and you can see the exploded view here, and it shows me all the steps for the exploded view. Now if I want to adjust anything, I can just right click and say edit feature. It shows me the features, it shows me each thing. So here's the rod, and I can say I want to edit that step, and then it brings up the rod, and I say, well, 138 might be a little bit too much. I'm going to change it to 100 and hit apply, and see that's a little bit closer. So I can adjust it and then green check. Okay, so here's my exploded view, and it looks very nice. Now one of the cool things you can do, I'm going to save it for it. Okay, now I have an exploded view, and notice I could name my exploded view, so if I want to say entire assembly or whatever, I can name it to keep track of it. Now one of the cool things you can do is you can create a movie. So you can go up and you can upload a movie to YouTube or up to your company website so that if people are having problems figuring out how to assemble stuff, they can watch your movie. Put it on your Facebook page, amaze your friends and family, right? So how do you do that? If I right-click on the exploded view, notice it says Animate Collapse. I'm going to click on Animate Collapse. Is that cool?
Yes.
Okay, now if I wanted to record that, I would just click on this little save button. See that? So I say, I like that. I'm going to save it. And notice I can save it, and it saves as an AVI file. See that? Okay, and I say save. I want to save it under Microsoft Video 1. You have other choices here. Notice you've got all these Kodak and full frames. That's what the movie people use. That's what James Cameron used for Avatar. He used Kodak. You know those Rock'em Sock'em robots in Avatar? Those were designed in SolidWorks. Okay? So a lot of the raw animation footage was done in SolidWorks. Any of you play Halo? Yeah? Some of this stuff was raw footage, comes from SolidWorks. Okay? So they saved it to Kodak and then used a video editor to enhance it and add stuff. Okay? You guys aren't doing that. However, there is a huge need for people who know SolidWorks at places like Lucas Sound and Light Magic Place and Disney, Universal Studios. They like people who know SolidWorks. They use SolidWorks for a lot of their stuff. So if you want to get into that industry, move down to Orlando, Florida or Anaheim and you'll have a job. Okay? So it's there's a huge need. Pixar even. So for your purposes and for this class, you want to do Microsoft Video 1. If you do Microsoft Video 1, then it will play on Windows Media Player or QuickTime. And anybody with a computer that you email it to, they just click on it and it'll automatically find a player and play for them. So you say that and you say OK. And then it runs through the animation, and notice it's slowing down. How many of you when you were a little kid did a little flip book? You know, showing like a bouncing ball or a bird or whatever. This is what it's doing. It's basically taking a snapshot and creating an image, and then it's going to basically compress all the different images together into this flip book to create your cartoon or your animation. And then it's done. And then you just go over to your projects file, wherever that is. And you should see an animation. Notice my animation looks like that. It says it has a little AVI symbol. Now it's an 8-second movie, and it's 101.23 megabytes it's going to be. Nice?
Yes.
Yeah. So you do that at your work and you'll really impress your boss. He'll think you spent hours and hours. It didn't take very long, did it? No, seriously, they think that you spent hours slaving over it. And really the amount of time was just setting up your exploded view, right? So if you do it right and you're nice, they're going to be very, very, very impressed with you. They're going to think like you're a miracle worker or something. Yeah?
So if you were to move the parts a couple of times in a different order, would it back record that entire steps?
Yeah, any step that's here is what's going to be in the animation. Okay? You can reorganize it. You have to edit it. So if you wanted to reorganize the steps, you just right click, you go edit feature, and I can drag. See that? See how step 5 is before step 4 now? So just left click and drag it. Okay? Okay. You will be doing an animation at the end of the term, but it's going to be even cooler than this. Okay? You're going to learn how to do some really neat tricks for animations. Yes, question?
When you saved it, did you save it under the file that you opened it under, or did you save it under a new file?
Well, when I saved the guide assembly or the animation?
The assembly exploded.
Yeah, it's the same file. It's just, this assembly is sitting inside of my guide assembly.
Gotcha.
Okay? It's just a configuration. Okay? It's not a new file.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, so I've created my exploded view. If I wanted to go to collapsed, I just right click and go collapsed. And it's back to being collapsed. Right? And then I can come back over here and I'm back in the environment that you guys are, you know, semi-used to being in, right? For create your assemblies, yeah? Okay, so create your exploded view in the configuration manager before you create your assembly drawing. Now, when I want to create my drawing, I come over and I say make drawing from part or assembly. And this is a millimeter, so I'm going to go with a millimeters drawing. Now, the units in an assembly drawing don't matter so much because you're not doing any dimensioning.
What did you click to get there?
I just went to new, drawing, and I selected the metric template.
Gotcha.
Okay? So now I'm going to come over here to the resource guide and notice that it shows me an isometric view and an isometric exploded view. You will not see that isometric exploded view unless you have an exploded view, right? So I'm going to drag and drop my exploded view, and I want to set it to shaded with edges. Okay? And I can adjust the scale if I want, make it a little bigger if I want. I'm just moving it over a little. And I'm going to move my isometric view in, and notice it automatically kind of aligns my views. And I also want them to be the same scale. See that? See how nice that looks? It'll look very professional. Alright, so now the next thing is I want to create my item balloons. So I go to my annotation ribbon, and my item balloons are right here. Now I can either do auto balloon or balloon. I normally do balloon, I don't do auto balloon. What happens with auto balloon is I select the view and I go auto balloon, and they all land crazy. And then I have to go around and fix them. And I don't like that. So I'm not going to do it. Now, if I go balloon, then I can manually place each one, and I can be make sure everything's clean and pretty. Alright? Okay, because to me it's faster to do it this way than to do the auto balloon and fix it. Alright? So the next thing is I want a bill of materials. Does anybody remember where I'm going to locate bill of materials under? What do you say? Yeah, you. No, I meant where in the ribbon? Where is it located? Tables. See right here where it says tables. Okay, so if I come to this little down member, Bill of Materials, right here. So I click Bill of Materials, I select the view, it's going to be BOM standard, I want it to be top level only. I select green check, and this is one of the times where you have to go green check first. Alright, and then I place it. Okay, what do you think of this bill of materials? Is it good? What's wrong with it? It's upside down. So how do I fix that? If I click on it, right here is the table header. It's a toggle. So I click on it. Now it's right side up. Anything else wrong? I'm missing some descriptions. Okay, so I can actually just double click in that cell and type. Okay, see that? Now the other thing is I don't usually like it to wrap like that. So if I click in the column, notice I can just drag it out and then I can just move it back where it looks nice. Now the other thing is you'll notice that when I dragged it, my column heights didn't stay uniform. So what I can do is if I right click here and I go formatting, I can select row height and I can make my row height like a standard row height, and then everybody's the same and it just looks cleaner.
So can you go over again how you made the numbers go in descending order?
Okay, so to do that, click on the bill of materials, click on this little move symbol, and see right here there's an icon that you can just toggle.
So it's funny that you haven't ballooned the plate, but the plate is in the bill of materials.
Right, you don't need to, you're right, I'm missing a balloon. Thank you for pointing that out. And that's one of the things I do when I check you. I see how many numbers there are, and then I see how many numbers there are to see if you're missing any. So
can you do a BOM first and
yes,
then a balloon after?
absolutely. Doesn't matter which one you do first. Okay, the numbers are signed based on the number in the order in the assembly. So notice guide is number 1 here, so guide is number 1 here. Rod is number 2 here, so rod is number 2 there. So if you want them in a different order, you can reorganize them in your assembly and then the number will change. Normally doesn't matter. Okay. Any other questions about this?
Have you resized that window?
How did I what?
Resize that window?
You mean resize?
The BOM?
Oh, the formatted the row
Yeah.
sizes? Okay, what I did was I select the BOM, I put a right click where the move symbol is, okay, I went to formatting, row height.
Okay.
Then I changed it to 6. Okay, a lot of what I just showed you is not in the book, okay, just so you know. Alright, so if you forget any of it, I'm going to post this video up on my website so you can check it out.
It's basically Excel stuff too.
Pretty much, yeah. It's not, we're not talking rocket science here. And after the first few times you do it, it's pretty easy. Yeah, it's right click, it's done. Okay. What I just did was I just double left clicked my my scroll wheel and that automatically seems to fit. So Notice, I just want to do a quick review. Exploded view, collapsed view, item balloons, bill of materials, done. That's all I want to see. Yes?
How do you make it so that when you have multiple parts, it gives you that below sign that you have more than one, or you got one?
Well, you see the quantity in the bill of materials, so when it's obvious, I don't care so much.
Okay.
Okay? If you wanted to change your, you've got a couple of choices on your balloons. Right now I've got circular, but I could do circular split line. And if you do circular split line, it gives you the item number and then the quantity. Okay, so you have that as an option as well. If you want to do it as a note, okay, just use the note and just come next to it and just say, you know, whatever the quantity is. Okay. Yes.
Do you have a preference for later on when you're trying to get some lines like this? How you want it in a little bubble, or you must have it loaded?
Either way will work. So whichever way works for you, works for me. I don't care, because they're both ANSI acceptable. Okay? Any other questions? Okay. Yes?
How you propagate the cells again? If they're missing? I guess
Just double left click inside the cell and just start typing.
okay.
And then it'll automatically update the description in the part as well.
So you
So back to
started,
the original cell.
Well, back to the original part.
so you started typing socket head and I think over FCHMS.
So, no, I just typed SCHS. It's a what you see is what you get. So whatever you type is what you're going to get.
Okay, but if we don't know.
If you don't know what the
Socket
description,
head will just work.
see, I'm looking right here and it says SHCS.
Okay.
And I'm looking right here and it says FCH. So that's how I knew what to type. Okay? Any other questions?
Will copy and paste work for that?
Yes. You can copy and paste between cells.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.